The Millers were gone. One day they were there, living their quiet life in the suburbs. Sarah teaching her students about the solar system. John working late nights on his latest architectural designs. Little Emily, her laughter echoing in the park. Then, silence. A void where their warmth and light once lived. The last anyone had seen the Millers was the previous evening, a friendly wave to a neighbour across the street, the soft glow of the television flickering behind their curtains. Yet, when the morning light crept through their windows, it illuminated an empty home. Beds lay undisturbed, breakfast sat untouched on the table. The house, filled with the ghosts of their presence, whispered a silent story of a family vanished. The news spread through the community like wildfire. The question echoed from every porch and every living room. Where could they have gone? Days melted into weeks, each one a cruel echo of the last. The initial shock gave way to a gnawing dread that settled over the town like a shroud. Theories swirled like dust devils in the wake of their disappearance. Some whispered of a family feud, long-buried secrets boiling over into violence. Others, their voices hushed, spoke of darker forces at play. Through it all, the empty house stood sentinel at the edge of town. Its windows, dark and vacant, stared out at the world like the eyes of a ghost. The house, once a sanctuary of warmth and laughter, had become a mausoleum of memories. The initial hours were a blur of activity. Sirens wailed, their piercing cries shattering the illusion of normalcy. Yellow tape cordoned off the Miller's house, transforming it into a crime scene. Detective Ben Carter, a seasoned investigator, arrived at the scene. He moved through the house, his gaze sweeping over every detail. A half-finished puzzle lay on the living room table, pieces scattered like fallen leaves. A single muddy footprint marred the pristine white carpet at the foot of the stairs. Carter, accustomed to the darkness that lurked in the hearts of men, couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't adding up. Days bled into weeks, each one a frustrating dance of dead ends and false hope. The investigation seemed to hit a wall at every turn. Neighbours, their initial shock giving way to suspicion, offered conflicting accounts. The local newspaper ran daily updates, each headline more sensational than the last. Theories, ranging from the plausible to the outlandish, were debated ad nauseum, but amidst the chaos and speculation, the truth remained elusive. The police, their resources stretched thin, chased down every lead, no matter how flimsy. Detective Carter, his initial confidence replaced by a gnawing doubt, found himself questioning everything he thought he knew. Just when the investigation seemed destined to fade into the cold case files, a glimmer of hope emerged. An anonymous tip, delivered in a handwritten note to the local police station, claimed to have information about the missing Millers. The note, written in shaky handwriting, simply read, "Look behind the walls, they never left." The note, dismissed by some as the work of a prankster, piqued Carter's interest. There was a rawness to the handwriting, a desperation that resonated with the detective's gut feeling. The note offered no further details, no clues as to the identity of the author. But for Carter, desperate for a break in the case, it was a lead he couldn't ignore. The note reignited a spark of hope in the hearts of those who had refused to give up. Armed with this cryptic clue, Carter and his team descended upon the Miller residence once more. The house, shrouded in an eerie silence, seemed to hold its breath. They meticulously examined every inch of the house, their movements methodical and thorough. They used ground-penetrating radar to scan the foundation, searching for any anomalies. Just when their hope began to dwindle, a breakthrough came from an unexpected quarter. A young officer noticed a discrepancy in the blueprints of the house. The original blueprints showed a discrepancy in the dimensions of the master bedroom. Could this be the behind the walls the anonymous tip had alluded to? The investigators focused their attention on the master bedroom. They ran their hands along the walls, searching for any irregularities. Finally, behind a seemingly innocuous bookcase, they discovered it, a hidden door. The door, stiff from years of disuse, creaked ominously as Carter pushed it open. A cold gust of stale air wafted out from the opening, sending a shiver down the spines of everyone present. Their hearts pounded as they grabbed their flashlights, illuminating a narrow, cramped staircase leading down into the unknown. The air grew heavy as Carter led the way down the narrow staircase. Each step was a step further back in time, away from the normalcy of the sunlit world above. The beam of his flashlight danced across the damp stone walls, revealing nothing but cobwebs and shadows. The silence was unnerving. The staircase ended abruptly at a heavy wooden door. Carter nodded to his partner, who kicked the door in with a resounding crash. Time seemed to stand still as Carter and his team stared in disbelief at the family they had searched for relentlessly for 9 long years. Sarah, her hair now streaked with grey, clutched Emily, her teenage daughter, who was now a young woman. John, his face covered in a thick beard, stood protectively in front of them. 9 years of birthdays missed, of holidays spent in this subterranean prison, 9 years of wondering, of hoping against hope. And yet here they were, alive, but forever marked by their ordeal. Carter said, his voice hoarse with emotion, "It's okay. We're here to help." But the words felt hollow, inadequate in the face of the unimaginable ordeal the Millers had endured. The room, illuminated by the harsh glare of the police flashlights, told a story of resilience and despair. Empty cans and bottles, meticulously stacked in a corner, spoke of a desperate attempt to maintain order. A makeshift calendar, painstakingly etched into the wall, marked the agonizingly slow passage of time. A single window, high up on the wall, offered a tantalizing glimpse of the world outside. Beneath it, a table held a collection of books, their pages worn thin from countless readings. Carter watched them, his heart aching for their suffering. The journey back to the surface was a blur of activity and emotion. Paramedics, their faces etched with concern, gently examined the Millers, marveling at their resilience while administering fluids and taking vital signs. The news of their discovery spread like wildfire, transforming the quiet suburban street into a media frenzy. Carter, his mind still reeling from the experience, found himself bombarded with questions. The media, hungry for a story, clamoured for details, their cameras flashing, their microphones thrust forward like weapons. The families of the missing, their faces etched with a mixture of joy and disbelief, wept openly, their tears a testament to the power of hope. But amidst the chaos and celebration, Carter couldn't shake off a sense of unease. The Millers, though physically free, were still trapped. Their minds held hostage by the horrors they had witnessed. Their eyes, wide and haunted, darted nervously around, searching for threats that no longer existed. Their voices, when they spoke at all, were little more than whispers, their words fragmented, their stories disjointed and incomplete. The investigation was far from over. The mystery of their disappearance, of their survival, of the identity of their captor, remained unsolved. The Millers' rescue, it seemed, was not an ending, but a beginning. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the lawn, Carter found himself standing outside the Miller house, watching as the last of the news vans pulled away. The house, no longer a crime scene, stood silent and dark, its secrets seemingly buried once more behind its ordinary facade. He thought of the Millers, safe now in the care of doctors and therapists, their long journey towards healing just beginning. He knew that the road ahead would be long and arduous, filled with challenges and setbacks. The scars of their ordeal, both physical and emotional, ran deep, and it would take time, perhaps a lifetime, to heal. But amidst the uncertainty, Carter clung to a flicker of hope. The Millers were alive. Against all odds, they had survived. Their story, though born of darkness, was ultimately one of resilience, of the enduring strength of the human spirit to overcome even the most unimaginable adversity. And in their survival, Carter found a glimmer of light, a reason to believe that even in the darkest of times, hope could endure. The hospital room was sterile, white walls closing in like the walls of their prison. Sarah Miller lay in the bed, her breath shallow, her eyes flitting beneath heavy lids. John, his face etched with worry, sat beside her, holding her hand. Emily, clutching a worn teddy bear, sat in the corner, lost in her own world. Carter, his notepad open, watched them, needing answers. Dr. Evelyn Reed, with kind eyes and a calming presence, entered the room. A specialist in trauma and recovery, she was there to help the Millers. She moved with quiet grace, her voice soothing in the sterile hospital room. Memories, she explained to Carter, are complex and don't resurface linearly. It's like a jigsaw puzzle scattered by the wind. Carter wanted immediate answers, but understood the need for delicacy. Dr. Reed's gentle questioning slowly chipped away at the Millers' silence. Days turned into weeks, and the fog began to lift. Fragmented memories surfaced, like scenes from a nightmare. Sarah spoke of a man, his face shrouded in shadow, his voice a menacing whisper. She spoke of the fear that gnawed at her sanity, the desperate hope that kept her clinging to life. John's memories were fragmented, punctuated by bursts of anger, but a crucial piece of the puzzle remained missing, the identity of their captor. The question haunted Carter, gnawed at the edges of his sleep. Who would do such a thing, and why? The Millers, by all accounts, were an ordinary family. They had no enemies, no dark secrets, no reason to be targeted in such a horrific way. He pored over the case files, scrutinized every detail, every interview, every piece of evidence. He revisited the crime scene, the hidden room now stripped bare by forensic experts. Its secrets seemingly vanished with the Millers' release. He chased down every lead, no matter how tenuous, interviewed every person who had ever crossed paths with the Millers. He studied their neighbors, their colleagues, their distant relatives, searching for a motive, a connection, anything that could lead him to the perpetrator. But the face of the captor remained elusive, hidden behind a veil of unanswered questions and dead-end leads. The case, once a beacon of hope, threatened to slip through his fingers, another unsolved mystery relegated to the cold case files. Then one afternoon, while reviewing the transcripts of Emily's sessions with Dr. Reed, Carter stumbled upon a clue. A name, whispered in the darkness of Emily's memories, a name that sent a chill down his spine. Mark Jenkins, just another face in the crowd, a quiet, unassuming colleague at the architectural firm, shocked and concerned about the Millers' disappearance. But a different picture began to emerge. Obsession, jealousy, a mind on the edge of madness, disturbing emails to Sarah, a possessive love, financial irregularities, secret accounts, mounting debt, evidence linking him to the hidden room. The puzzle pieces snapped into place. Mark Jenkins, the architect of the Millers' nightmare. The pieces clicked. The innocuous facade of Mark Jenkins crumbled, revealing the monster beneath. Carter, fueled by a potent cocktail of fury and guilt, wasted no time. The man had been under their noses the entire time, a wolf disguised in the wool of normalcy. The arrest was swift, the evidence overwhelming. A search of Mark Jenkins's home unearthed a trove of incriminating evidence, photographs of the Millers meticulously catalogued and dated, newspaper clippings about their disappearance, even strands of Sarah's hair tucked away in a locket. The man was a predator, his obsession meticulously documented, his crimes meticulously planned. News of the arrest ripped through the community like a tornado, leaving shock and disbelief in its wake. Neighbors, friends, colleagues all struggled to reconcile the quiet, unassuming man they thought they knew with the monster who had held the Millers captive for 9 long years. The media descended upon the town, hungry for every detail of the case. Cameras camped outside the police station, microphones thrust towards anyone remotely connected to the story. The Millers' faces, once symbols of hope, were now plastered across newspapers and television screens, their ordeal dissected and debated ad nauseum. The town, once a sanctuary of peace and normalcy, grappled with the knowledge that a monster had lived among them, hidden in plain sight. Parents clutched their children a little tighter. Neighbours eyed each other with suspicion, the illusion of safety shattered. The church, usually a beacon of comfort and solace, overflowed with people seeking answers, seeking solace, seeking someone to blame. The pastor, his face etched with sorrow, struggled to find words to comfort his flock, to make sense of the senseless. The blame game began, as it always does in the wake of tragedy. Fingers pointed at the police, accused of incompetence, of overlooking crucial clues. Suspicion fell on neighbours who had dismissed Sarah's concerns about Mark, who had accepted his seemingly innocent gestures at face value. The town, once united in hope, now fractured under the weight of guilt, anger and suspicion. The scars of Mark Jenkins's crimes ran deep, etching themselves onto the very fabric of the community. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation, packed with reporters, curious onlookers, and the families of the victims, their faces etched with a mixture of hope and dread. The trial of Mark Jenkins, dubbed the monster next door by the media, had become a national spectacle, a referendum on the nature of evil and the fragility of normalcy. The prosecution, their case airtight, presented a mountain of evidence. The emails, the photographs, the financial records, the testimony of forensic experts who meticulously detailed the construction of the hidden room. They painted a picture of a man driven by obsession, a predator who had meticulously planned his crimes, who had enjoyed the suffering he inflicted. The defense, their client a cipher, a blank slate upon which they could project no semblance of humanity, resorted to pleading insanity. They presented Mark Jenkins as a victim of his own delusions, a man incapable of understanding the gravity of his actions, a man driven to madness by an unrequited love. The jury, their faces grim, listened intently to the testimony, their eyes darting between the defendant, the victims, and the mountain of evidence that separated them. The weight of their decision, the knowledge that their verdict would determine the fate of a man and the closure of a community, hung heavy in the air. The Millers, their faces etched with scars, recounted their 9 years of captivity. Sarah spoke of constant fear and hunger, trying to maintain normalcy for her daughter. John described the helplessness and rage, the slow erosion of hope. Emily, haunted by nightmares, spoke of the shadows that still lurked. Their raw and heartbreaking testimony transcended the courtroom. It spoke of resilience, love, hope, and the devastating toll of trauma. The jury deliberated for 3 days before returning with their verdict. Mark Jenkins was found guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. The verdict brought closure, but the Millers felt justice was elusive. 9 years of their lives had been stolen, love and laughter erased. No verdict could ever give them that back. The scars of Jenkins' crimes would remain, a constant reminder of darkness. The cameras eventually left. The reporters packed up their notepads and microphones. Life in the town slowly returned to normal. For the Millers, the road back to normalcy was long and arduous. Their release was not an end, but a beginning. Physical wounds healed quickly, but psychological scars lingered. Their home felt alien, haunted by memories. The world outside felt overwhelming. They were free, but still confined by fear. Sarah's spirit, dimmed by fear and isolation, struggled to reconcile her past and present selves. Nightmares transported her back to the hidden room, heavy with mildew and despair. She found solace in her garden, the vibrant flowers contrasting her monochrome world. Yet shadows lingered, whispering doubts, reminding her of the fragility of peace. John battled guilt, rage and fear, questioning the safety of their world. He found solace in his work, creating something lasting and impervious to fate. but nightmares haunted him, chipping away at his carefully constructed reality. The town, forever marked by the horrors that had unfolded within its borders, grappled with its newfound notoriety. Tourists flocked to the miller's former home, their morbid curiosity a source of both revenue and revulsion for the residents. The church, once a place of solace and spiritual nourishment, became a battleground for conflicting emotions: blame, forgiveness, anger, compassion. The community, once bound by shared values and aspirations, now fractured along fault lines of suspicion and mistrust. The trial of Mark Jenkins, broadcast live on national television, brought no closure, only a heightened awareness of the darkness that could lurk beneath the surface of the ordinary. The man, his motives shrouded in a toxic brew of obsession and delusion, became a symbol of the evil that could reside in anyone, a chilling reminder that monsters don't always wear masks. In the aftermath of the trial, the town sought to rebuild, to reclaim its lost innocence, to find a path forward through the shadow of tragedy. But the scars remained etched into the collective memory of the community, a constant reminder of the fragility of peace, the ever-present potential for darkness to resurface. The media, their insatiable appetite for sensationalism momentarily satiated, moved on to the next tragedy, the next scandal, the next opportunity to exploit the suffering of others for profit and entertainment. The Millers, their story no longer headline news, faded from the public consciousness, their ongoing struggle for normalcy relegated to the back pages of local newspapers and the occasional human interest piece on cable news. But their story, though no longer a source of national fascination, continued to resonate. A cautionary tale whispered from neighbour to neighbour, a reminder of the importance of vigilance, of looking beyond the surface, of recognizing the subtle signs of trouble before they escalate into tragedy. Their story, though born of darkness, became a beacon of hope for others who had suffered similar traumas, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the enduring power of love and family to heal even the deepest wounds. Support groups formed, online forums buzzed with messages of empathy and encouragement, strangers reaching out to strangers, sharing their own stories of survival, offering a virtual shoulder to cry on, a virtual hand to hold in the darkness. Despite the guilty verdict, despite the mountain of evidence, despite the years of therapy and introspection, some questions lingered unanswered, perhaps unanswerable. What had truly motivated Mark Jenkins? What dark alchemy of nature and nurture had twisted his psyche, transforming him from an ordinary man into a monster capable of such cruelty? Had there been signs, missed signals, opportunities to intervene before his obsession spiraled out of control? Or was his darkness so deeply buried, his facade so convincingly constructed, that no one, not even those closest to him, could have foreseen the horror he was capable of unleashing? And what of the Millers? Could they ever truly escape the shadow of their ordeal? Could they ever learn to trust again, to love again, to embrace the world with the same open hearts they had before their lives were shattered? These questions, like shards of broken glass, remained lodged in the collective consciousness of the town, a constant reminder of the limits of human understanding, the elusive nature of truth, the enduring mystery of the human heart. Years passed, seasons turned, the world continued its relentless spin. The Millers, their lives forever altered by their ordeal, found a new normal, a fragile equilibrium built upon a foundation of therapy, medication, and the unwavering support of each other. They carried the scars of their captivity, both visible and invisible, a constant reminder of the fragility of freedom, the preciousness of every breath taken in the sunlight. The echoes of their ordeal lingered, whispering doubts in their ears, casting shadows on their brightest days. But they also carried within them a strength born of adversity, a resilience forged in the crucible of unimaginable suffering. They had stared into the abyss and emerged, broken but not defeated, their spirits tempered by the fires of their ordeal. Their story, though born of darkness, became a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, a beacon of hope in a world often shrouded in shadows. For in their survival, in their refusal to be defined by the evil that had been inflicted upon them, they offered a glimmer of light, a testament to the enduring power of hope, love, and the unbreakable bonds of family.